Is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus still good in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. What's going on, guys? Kalipis Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus and going over whether or not it's still good by 2021 standards. So let's get into it. Now this phone has a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1440p, a PPI of 550, an aspect ratio of 19:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 88.3%. We got a hole punch up here for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 10 megapixels. The unique thing about this front-facing camera is that it actually has a double front-facing camera, so you can actually take wide-angle photos with it. Now there aren't very many phones at all that have this type of front-facing camera, so that's really impressive. Now I do have the brightness set at 100%, and this display looks really good. Even by today's standards, you can definitely tell just by looking at the display that it's a flagship phone, and whether you're doing simple things like viewing photos or more complex types of content consumption like playing video games, this display is going to be great for all of it. Even something like reading, since this phone has a larger display. Now at 6.4 inches, it had one of the largest displays on the market in its time, but by today's standards, there are lots of other phones that are bigger, but at the same time, I still would say this display is on the larger side, and it's going to provide a great experience for content consumption. In addition to that, the phone has a really slim, sleek design that not only looks really nice and modern despite being a little bit on the older side for a phone, but also makes it really easy and comfortable to hold the phone in your hand and carry it in your pocket. It's not bulky at all, so even though it has a large display, you're not gonna have any problems handling it. Now the back has a glossy finish, and as far as aesthetics go, I'm really not a big fan of this look. You can tell just by looking at the back that despite the high quality materials it's made of, it looks really old and outdated. There's no way any new phone, even the lower end phones for that matter, is gonna look like this. Although the front of the phone has aged really well, I can't say the same for this back. And overall, I just don't think it looks very good. That being said, the rest of it does look really nice. For storage, this phone has 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. So whether you're an average user who doesn't do too much on your phone, or a power user who has lots of apps, lots of photos and videos, that sort of thing, either way, you're gonna have plenty of space to work with. And if you're like me and shoot a lot of photos and videos, then you're still gonna be fine with the microSD card. Now I'm gonna be honest here, I use this specific phone in my hand to shoot most of the videos for this channel, and I still haven't once had to use the microSD card. I don't even have a microSD card for that matter, and I shoot a lot of videos. So that just goes to show how good the storage is on this phone. Now, I personally don't keep videos on the phone for very long, which is part of the reason why I've never even come close to running out of space. But if you do for whatever reason, or if you have lots of apps, then the microSD card is gonna be a great feature for you. Now this phone supports 15-watt wireless charging, so if that's a feature that's important to you, then definitely keep this in mind. And also keep in mind that for a brand new phone that you can get at the price that these phones are going for, you're not gonna get wireless charging. I have yet to see a phone around the $400 price range that has wireless charging that's not an older flagship phone, so definitely keep that in mind, because it is, as of 2021 at least, one of those features that's more unique to flagship and higher end phones. For security features, this phone has both a fingerprint scanner and face unlock. The fingerprint scanner is in the display, giving it a nice modern look. Let's go ahead and try it out. That was really fast. Let's give it one more try. And as you can see, it opened right up. So this fingerprint scanner not only looks really nice and really modern, but it's also really fast and responsive as well. Taking a look at the rear camera setup, we do have a triple camera setup here on the back with a 12 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera. This is a really good camera setup, and there's pretty much no feature that it doesn't have that more modern phones in this price range do have. An argument could be made for the macro camera, but with the telephoto lens, I don't think there's really any need for a macro camera anyway, so I don't think it's really much of a point. And not only that, but even by today's standards, this phone takes really high quality pictures. This is a photo taken with the regular rear camera of the phone, and as you can see, it is super high quality. The colors are balanced perfectly, the lighting is really on point, and the overall quality of the image is really professional looking. This photo is from the same scene taken with the ultra-wide camera. I can really appreciate how this ultra-wide camera is not only really wide like any ultra-wide camera should be, but it also has absolutely no distortion at all. It really retains the same quality as the regular rear camera, which is honestly what I would expect from a 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera. Definitely impressive. And like I was saying before, the telephoto lens can be used as a macro camera as well, and this is what that looks like. As you can see here, this close-up image is just as sharp, if not sharper, than an average macro camera, especially in this price range. Now, if you get something like a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and use the macro camera on that, which I don't even know why it has a macro camera, then maybe it would be equal. But as it goes, this telephoto lens is definitely usable as a macro camera if you ever want to get those close-up photos. And of course, you can use it to zoom in on farther away objects without losing quality. And that's really what it's meant for. That's why I love the telephoto cameras so much. Probably one of my favorite features of all time on a smartphone camera. It's really useful for so many different applications. And in addition to being able to take really high quality photos, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus can also take really high quality videos. Like I said before, the vast majority of videos on this channel have all been shot with the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. So that gives you an idea of what kind of quality you get from it. And this phone also has the capability of shooting in 4K in both the rear and the front cameras. So if you want to get really high quality cinematic-like videos, this is going to be a good option for that too. Compared to other phones in this price range that are brand new, lots of them can shoot 4K videos, but they're not going to be quite the quality of this phone. So in short, if you're looking for a phone that has really good photo and video features, then the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus is going to be a good option for you. Internally, this phone's getting 8 gigabytes of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on the phone, and it came back with a single core score of 730 and a multi-core score of 2643. So you can definitely see this is a really powerful processor. Even by today's standards, it competes with a lot of super high-end phones. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 is not a weak processor by any means. So whether you're doing more basic activities like web browsing and social media and just want a really good, fast experience, or you're doing more demanding stuff like video editing with large files, or a high-performance game like Fortnite, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus is going to be able to handle all of it just fine. Another thing I want to point out is a lot of people's main reservation with getting an older phone like this is the software, because down the road, eventually updates will always stop being supported for any phone pretty much. But as you can see from the little edge panel right here, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus is able to update to Android 11. Now, I'm not sure when these updates are going to stop being supported, but as of right now, you are able to use the latest version of Android, so that's really good. So right now, that aspect of having an older phone isn't that much of a concern with the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. So now that we've gone over some of the specs of the phone, let's take a look at the hardware. So on the left here, we have the volume keys and the Bixby button. I have to say, I'm really glad that in later years, they've done away with the Bixby button and any kind of assistant button. It's not nearly as common to see these on phones, and I think that's all for the best. I really can't stand this button. It's one of the worst features I've seen on a smartphone. Even if you want to use the assistant, which It's cool. I use assistants all the time, like Google Assistant, Siri, Alexa, you name it. All those things are really cool, but having a button for it almost defeats the purpose of having a voice-activated assistant. Being able to say, okay, Google, and having it open up Google Assistant is so much better than having a button, and Bixby is one of the lesser used voice assistants anyway. So it's just annoying to have it because the only thing I've ever done with this button is accidentally activate it, which is just a pain. On the right side here, we just got our power key. On the top, we have the noise canceling microphone in the slot for the SIM card and micro SD card. On the bottom, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, the USB-C charging port, the microphone, and the speaker. On the back, we have our camera setup and our flash, and then a Samsung logo right here. Overall, the materials are really high quality. As you would expect with a flagship phone, this phone feels really high end. And for the most part, it doesn't look or feel too old. The only thing that looks really old about this phone is this awful back. I really don't like this back. It looks so outdated and hasn't aged well at all. But everything else about this phone, from the side views to the front view to the top view, it all looks really good. So in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus still good in 2021? Well, I would say it absolutely is still good in 2021. In fact, in pretty much every way, I would say it's better than all but a few brand new phones in the same price range. This phone has flagship features like wireless charging and dust and water resistance, NFC, and more that other mid-range phones in the same price range don't have. The camera quality, even though a lot of mid-range phones are on par with it, is still better than most brand new phones in the price range. No mid-range phone is gonna have a telephoto lens or a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera. The most I've seen in anything near this price range is 8 megapixels. And the sensor on this, being a flagship phone, is gonna be top quality still. The materials are really good. I have yet to see a phone in this price range that's brand new that has glass all the way around, especially of this quality. A Super AMOLED display is really nice, although that's not much of an advantage anymore, as phones like the Samsung Galaxy A52, for example, do have those types of displays, so it's not as much of an advantage anymore in and of itself. But the resolution of 1440p, that's gonna be a really big thing. And the overall look at the phone with these thin bezels in nice modern shape are just so much nicer than pretty much any phone you would find in this price range. The only things that I would think are really not good about this phone, where a more modern phone would be better, are first and foremost the battery. That's the biggest thing. There's so many other phones, even really low-end phones, that have better batteries than that. So that's probably the weakest point of this phone. And this is an old phone, so it's probably gonna be worn down a little bit, so that battery might not even last nearly as long. The back also, as I've said many times, is just not pleasing to the eye at all. That's not a huge deal to me personally, because I care a lot more about how my phone functions than how it looks. But at the same time, it is something to be aware of. That and the Bixby button is just unpleasant and really outdated looking. And then the other thing that might be in the back of a lot of people's minds is the whole thing with the updates. Now, of course, it supports Android 11 now, but who knows when updates are gonna stop being supported for this phone. So that's another thing. If you really are concerned about getting the latest versions of Android for a long time, then you might wanna look at a newer device. But at the end of the day, if you are looking for a phone with flagship performance and features that can take really high quality photos, has a good display for content consumption, and a really powerful processor, then the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus is probably gonna be a good option for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.